Hi, I'm Kristen White here at Book Expo America 2012. We're here with Bestselling Celebrity Author TV. And my guest is Tim Sullivan, and he's here to talk to us about the best NHL series ever.
Correct.
When was this game and series?
It was 1994, spring of 1994, so just 18 years ago, almost to the day. It featured two teams with two different identities. The New York Rangers were the big, bad, big city team who hadn't won a championship in 54 years, back to 1940. And then their rival, their biggest rival at the time, the New Jersey Devils, who were just 6 miles away across the river, who were a newer team. They were only 12 years old at the time, had never won a Stanley Cup, and were they wanted to kind of forge their own identity as just somebody who was relevant. The Rangers wanted to win a Stanley Cup championship to prove that they could finally do it. And it's two kind of worlds colliding on two different sides of the Hudson River. One, New Jersey, a sort of an underappreciated entity that needed to carve out its own niche, and one team from the big city that really wanted to conclude a lifelong journey.
Wow. So the book is called Battle on the Hudson. And what did this activate inside the communities beyond just the game?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because in 1994 it wasn't the biggest time in New York City or New Jersey for that matter. It was we weren't just on a financial crisis, but unemployment was down. It was a darker time in this city's proud history, and in the sports world, the Giants weren't a tremendous team in the NFL at the time. The Yankees were still on their way up to becoming the dynasty that they became, and hockey kind of captured the city's attention for about a 3-month span, more so than it ever has before. Ever since, more and more hockey rinks have been established on both sides of the river. And when you look now, there's about 2 or 3 or 4 even NHL players that come up through this area every year, and most of them are around 24, 25 years old, which would put them right at, the midget level of hockey when this series was being played. And a lot of them have always talked about the fact that series, that championship season for the Rangers, helped them start a love for the game of hockey.
So it really was a source of inspiration for not only a lot of young players to get started and to expand the following of hockey, but what also inside just the community at the time? I mean, did it speak to any larger issues that were going on?
Well, it really did. In many respects, it kind of created a whole new world that people didn't really realize existed. It was a time where sports was big. It was New York. Everything is big, but hockey was always number 4, next to basketball, football, and baseball, and not exactly in that order. And hockey became it was a statement for not only the two teams but for the league in general. The commissioner, Gary Bettman, was in his first year at the time. ESPN, who took on the national contract for NHL, was in its first year of broadcasting games on a nationwide level. So in many respects, that year, 1994, aside from the two teams, was kind of a coming out party for the NHL in general, not just in America, but in all of the world.
Now, I understand these two teams matched up again recently, and what was the outcome then?
It was different. 1994, after 7 dramatic games, 3 of which went double overtime, the Rangers finally won and eventually won their Stanley Cup championship. The Devils, to a man, always said that series, and there's one player still left on that team, their goaltender Martin Brodeur, who always said if they had won that series, they might not have became what they became, and they turned out to win that Stanley Cup the next year, 1995, and then went on to win 2 more. They're in the Stanley Cup Finals right now for their 5th appearance. But this year, 18 years later, with the same goaltender in net who gave up the big goal in 1994, beat the Rangers in the same round of the same series. So 18 years later, it came full circle, and the little guys finally won.
So you clearly have a passion for the sport. You've played hockey yourself. When you were writing this book, what was your most favorite part?
The best part is talking to the personalities who not only covered the series, coached in the series, or played in the series. I mean, if you talk up to anyone who has written a sports book of any sport, I think most of them would probably tell you, if they knew hockey players, if they interviewed hockey players, that they would understand that they're probably the best quotes, the most open, the most accessible players out there. They love talking about stories, and just with any pro athlete, if you can bring up a memory that they have from 18 years ago that's a fond memory, they'll talk forever about it. And it's little stories like that a lot of those players were young and starting their families at the time. Now their kids are playing, almost on their way to the NHL. And it's also part of talking to the people who covered the series, who were younger in their media careers 18 years ago and remember that series for what it was and what it became for their careers, and they speak just as highly about it. I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that at least 10 or 15 times in these interviews, there were some tears and some eyes on the other side of the microphone, and that's, I think, when you know you're doing something right.
How exciting. Well, thank you, Tim, for stopping by. Where can we find the book?
The book is on Amazon and Barnes & Noble right now. It'll be out in the fall only because we had to hold it because of the series that spawned last week, so we're writing a few more chapters, but it's on pre-sale now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It'll be out October.
All right, so Battle on the Hudson, the Devils, the Rangers, and the NHL's greatest series ever. So thank you for being here with us at Book Expo America, and I hope you have a wonderful show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.